Hello, everyone. Welcome to IPWatchdog Unleashed, where each week we journey into the world of intellectual property to discuss the laws, news, policy, and politics of innovation, technology, and creativity. With analysis and commentary from industry thought leaders and newsmakers from around the world, IPWatchdog Unleashed is hosted by world-renowned patent attorney and the founder of IPWatchdog.com, Gene Quinn, who has twice been named one of the most influential people in the intellectual property community and recognized numerous times as one of the top IP strategists in the world. Take it away, Gene.
Thanks, Renee. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of IPWatchdog Unleashed. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. A scheduled guest had to cancel our recording earlier this week, but that created an opportunity for me to talk to you about something that I've been thinking about for a while and something that's been quietly reshaping the patent industry for years, but has gained new momentum over the last year or two. I keep hearing the same thing from patent professionals across the industry, inside companies, inside law firms, and even from investors. Patent budgets are shrinking, expectations are rising, and nobody seems willing to admit what the combination actually means. Obviously, shrinking budgets and rising expectations create an unsustainable path, and it should hardly be shocking to anyone that when companies reduce what they're willing to invest in identifying inventions, drafting applications, prosecuting patents, and maintaining portfolios, what they're saying with their actions is that they have lost faith in the patent system, because if they had faith in the patent system and they believe patents were valuable assets, their actions would be different. Like searching for gold, when gold prices are high, it is more economically viable to mine in difficult locations or land that has less concentrated gold. When gold prices are low, it just doesn't make sense to mine unless it is easy and or the concentration of gold is very high. And patents are just like gold. In a climate when patents are strong and valuable, it makes all the sense in the world to do whatever you can to obtain them and keep them because they create real value. Conversely, when patents are weak and worth less, it makes no sense to invest in their creation. And if you look at patent budgets today, it's becoming increasingly difficult to argue that many companies still believe in the patent system, generally speaking, and it is difficult to believe that many companies think patents are strong or valuable. Sure, companies say patents are critical to their innovation strategy, but do they really mean it? Just look at their actions. In business, priorities are defined by budgets, and budgets are shrinking year after year. And this is where the conversation starts to become uncomfortable for everyone involved, companies, law firms, and frankly, the patent system itself. When you look past the talking points and the PR rhetoric and don't allow your judgments to be clouded by irrational hopes and dreams about the past or what could be, and instead you focus on budgets, filing decisions, and expectations being placed on outside counsel, the story is clear. For most companies, patents simply don't matter at all. And why should they really? For most companies, the odds of using a patent to prevent anyone from doing anything is practically zero. We kid ourselves when we say that a patent is an exclusive right. The inability to get an injunction against an adjudicated infringer means that most patents are not really property, and it means the U.S. patent system is nothing more than a compulsory licensing regime. And that means patent owners rely on infringing companies to do the right thing, which is just as silly as it sounds. In corporate America, where nothing is personal and decisions are purely business, hoping for benevolence where there is no legal compulsion to do the right thing is about as productive as praying to win the lottery in order to fund your retirement. It's no plan at all. Now, so far, I've been indirectly referring to the demise of the value of the U.S. patent, which is obviously the predicate for the discussion today, but it goes much deeper than that. And rather than rehash all the specific reasons why the patent system in the United States has been in decline from the perspective of patent owners and innovators over the last 20 years, I'm going to push past that today and assume that to be true, which of course it is. If you're new to IP Watchdog or the industry in general and you aren't prepared to take it at face value that the patent system in the U.S. has been in steady decline for the past 2 decades, I invite you to go to IPWatchdog.com and search the phrase, quote, patent system in decline, end quote. There are dozens of articles I've written and others have written that go into great detail, chapter and verse, about how Congress, the courts, and the executive branch have all played a role in the systemic weakening of the U.S. patent system. But for our purposes here today, I'm simply going to assume that the U.S. patent system is weaker now than it has been at any time since the early 1980s, and the value of patents are less, significantly less, because that is simply not debatable. It is true. Given this reality, it is hardly surprising to see companies continually shrink their patent budgets year after year. And frankly, it's difficult to argue with the decision to spend less on patents in this climate. Although most companies make bizarre budgetary decisions, in my view, that almost seem intentionally calculated to fail. Sure, I understand the desire to spend less, but thoughtful triage, cutting with a scalpel and not a meat cleaver, is the way to move forward with a rational strategy. But how many companies actually do that? Few, really, which is again hardly surprising when you consider that the people making decisions are business people, accountants, and economics majors who don't understand science or technology, they don't understand the patent system, and their decisions are often made purely for hitting quarterly or yearly projections. Now, I'm not saying that to be mean or to criticize the business people who run the companies and are tasked with making financial decisions. They live in a different world than engineers, scientists, and patent professionals do. And while they understand markets and economics, that doesn't mean their decisions are rational, even if the desire to spend less makes perfect sense. So with all this in mind, let's pivot to what is becoming the patent system's biggest challenge: the growing gap between what companies say they want and what they're actually willing to invest to get. Everyone says they want higher quality patents, but higher quality patents require more work, more technical disclosure, more thoughtful claim strategy, more careful prosecution. And that simply can't happen when budgets keep going down. And let's be perfectly honest. While in this climate it probably makes sense to spend less on what are weaker, less valuable patents, there's also a bit of self-fulfilling prophecy at work here. Yes, patents are weaker, but they're not dead. Yes, patents are less valuable and worth less, but they're not completely worthless. Yes, it has gotten harder to obtain patent protection companies want and need, but it's not impossible. Just this week, I hosted a webinar on ways life sciences companies can still obtain broad genus claims covering antibodies. And not surprisingly, the strategy, which is currently being successfully employed, requires more technical explanation and much more data. So for those who need strong patents, you can get it, whether you're in the life sciences area or in the computer software or AI fields. Patent practitioners are excellent at adapting to whatever nonsensical test or standard the Federal Circuit comes up with. But if you need to cut your budget, you simply cannot get the same number of patents. Ask any patent practitioner and they will tell you that the Federal Circuit has steadily increased the amount of work required to produce a defensible patent. Specifications need to be deeper, claims need to be broader, prosecution records need to be built with litigation in mind, and all of that requires more time, not less. So each patent that you get that you actually want to have any hope of keeping when challenged and enforcing when infringed must be created differently. This means more effort and energy needs to go into harvesting the invention, including cooperation from the inventors with the patent team, and it means spending more time to write more robust and more detailed patent applications, and it means far greater effort during prosecution of the application itself. And not surprisingly, that all means more needs to be spent, not less. But a lot of clients are effectively asking for 2026 level high-quality patent work that will pass Federal Circuit muster to be done at 1980 level prices. And if that's your strategy sucks. I'm sorry, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Demanding patent practitioners do more for less is naive to the extreme. That's not a strategy at all. And for an asset that can last up to 20 years, all it does is ensure that you collect large numbers of weak patents that realistically have little or no value because they could never be enforced, they'll be lost if challenged, and worse, in order to keep those low-quality patents for their full lifetime, you use up precious resources paying for ever-increasing maintenance fees and annuities, all to keep an asset you weren't really serious about when you acquired it in the first place, because if you were, you would have done things very differently. Right about now, some of you listening are no doubt beginning to think about artificial intelligence tools and platforms, maybe even wondering if I'm overlooking the promise of efficiency gains AI can offer. I assure you I'm not overlooking anything. And while I think AI tools and platforms offer great promise, and I think everyone in the industry should be using these tools, there's a significant disconnect between what AI can do and what many believe it actually does. And as many of you have no doubt heard already, there's a growing belief among many clients that AI should make patent preparation dramatically cheaper. And that is, of course, perfectly correct. AI should make patent preparation dramatically cheaper, but that is not happening today. AI tools and platforms today are capable of helping experienced patent practitioners to create better work product, oftentimes much better work product. But AI is no magic button, certainly not now and perhaps never in our industry, since the very nature of what we're supposed to be doing is defining and protecting something that up till now has not existed. But there's no question in my mind that AI can and does make the work product significantly better, which, given the ridiculous expectations and shifting standards of the federal circuit, should be the goal. What is unrealistic, however, is believing that you can use AI to create a better work product while simultaneously enjoying enhanced efficiency that translates into projects taking less time. Still, some clients that aren't even using AI internally are already insisting they should be sharing in the supposed productivity gains from AI and pay less for patent work because they claim to know that AI makes everything faster and more efficient. They actually say they want to share in the savings. Well, if your strategy is to accelerate demand for lower fees based on some fantasy that AI is in fact a magic button and not much is required on the part of the patent practitioner, that's not a strategy at all. Simply stated, you can't build stronger patent portfolios by spending less money, demanding more work, and hoping AI somehow fills the gap. That won't happen now. It may never happen. And if you as a client are demanding more, paying less, believing AI is the answer, you'll continue to collect low-quality assets that have little hope of doing anything other than draining your resources. You'll become continually disenchanted with the patent system, and like all negative feedback loops, the declining quality and value will be internalized and ultimately suppress further activity until there is a complete capitulation. And this is where the situation becomes irrational and entirely untenable. Instead of rethinking how patents are developed, managed, and funded, many companies are trying to solve a problem of their own creation. In fact, the industry has created a paradox. Companies say they want stronger patents, but they're investing less to create them. And the real issue here is not whether law firms should charge less or whether AI does or will eventually improve efficiency. The real issue is whether companies are being honest with themselves about the economics of patents. If organizations truly believe patents are valuable strategic assets, they must invest accordingly. And if they're unwilling to make those necessary investments, then they should stop pretending that patents remain a priority and make the decision to save money by giving up on patents altogether and simply keep as much as possible a trade secret for as long as possible. And faced with that choice, many clients still won't accept reality, wanting to choose more patents for less money as if squeezing a rock hard enough is going to make it bleed. Now, I've oversimplified things a bit because no smart IP strategy will ever put all eggs into either a patent portfolio or all eggs into giving up on patents entirely and moving everything into a trade secret regime. But companies really need to thoughtfully look at their budgets and start to make sensible decisions based on more than blind, irrational belief that you can simply force outside counsel to do more for less repeatedly year after year. In closing, let me say this. The patent system has always depended on a simple premise that companies believe protecting innovation is worth the investment. But when budgets shrink and clients seem to increasingly want to put blind faith in black magic as a solution, something has to give. Companies need to start asking some hard questions about what they actually believe the patent system is worth and start acting accordingly with eyes wide open and with full understanding of the consequences, whatever they may be. And maybe, just maybe, the real issue isn't whether patents still matter. Maybe the real question is whether companies are willing to invest in them the way they used to.
Thank you for listening to IP Watchdog Unleashed. We will be back next week, and we hope you will join us again. In the meantime, please be sure to visit IPWatchdog.com to read all the latest news and information about what is happening in the intellectual property world. And also be sure to subscribe to our free daily email newsletter.